Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Boring Enterprise Nerdcast slash also mildly show and tell. It's your usual host, myself, Elena Perfilova, and my partner in crime, Paul Moderman. And we
Hello.
have our repeat guest today. So welcome, Björn Schulz, our friend of the nerds, very known ABAP expert in SAP community and blog author, and I'm sure Bjorn has many other regalia. Welcome, Bjorn. So, yeah, why don't you just introduce yourself briefly to people who are somehow not familiar with you?
Sure. Yes. Thank you for having me here today. So my name is Björn. I'm normally a software engineer in the company, so I'm taking care about BTP, the ABAP architecture, and so on. When that's one part of my life, and I think the other part is where I'm writing about things I do in my free time. Is also learning ABAP, learning all the new stuff, and I think in the past the problem was the most part for me. I learned development the old way, so to say, and I've always see online in the documentation in the community there are modern development parts, the clean ABAP guidelines, and so on. It was not part of my life at the past. So this was for me the thing to say, oh, I have to modernize myself. I have to check what are the actual skills I need for ABAP development. And so I stumbled into it and starting writing about it. So I write more or less about my journey I'm doing now, and I'm also sharing it with the community. So the community also sees what is happening in the SAP ecosystem, for example. So that's my idea behind it.
Yeah, I can definitely recommend reading Bjorn's blog post to anyone because it's a great writing. You can see it's very thoughtful content. And speaking of blog posts, so the reason why we gathered here today is exactly to talk about one of the subjects that Bjorn wrote about. It's about transformation of ABAP developers. And let me share the link with you. Right. So this is a blog post that Bjorn shared, and it's again very thoughtful. It has a lot of details here, and clearly at this time, ABAP developers are kind of at the crossroads at their careers, and thinking not just is AI is going to take our jobs, but also thinking what should they maybe learn in addition to ABAP, or maybe instead
Mhm.
of ABAP. I think it's kind of question on many people's minds, unless you're retiring in a few years or a plan just move away from SAP. I bet you're definitely thinking about it. And there are so many options. So there some of them are listed here. There is Fiori, BTP, there are some options about different IDEs are suddenly available to ABAP developers. And within SAP itself, different extensibility options, toolbox, etc. But before we jump into like talking about those options, I just want to kind of give maybe a little bit of background, especially to those viewers who are new to ABAP or SAP or relatively new who have not lived through 20 years of history that led to this moment. Just want to give them a little bit of background. And we can, I think all of us have some personal stories to share here, how we kind of started many years ago and progressed through the times. Paul, so I think yours is probably very typical ABAP kind of
Yeah.
ABAP here superhero story for your generation. Why don't you just walk us through your experience?
Yeah.
How you witness ABAP evolution through years. What did it
Yeah.
look like kind of through your eyes?
So I started doing ABAP stuff around the beginning of 2010, I believe, is
Mm-hmm.
when I first started doing that in my career. And that was like kind of like many of the old ways had been fully baked by that point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh baddies, enhancements, SAP scripts, smart forms, like all of the old school things were still like in the world, but they had some time to sort of settle out and get some exposure in the world. Even WebDin Pro was it was already a thing then a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
but there was also a time where like you could just see the horizon of some of the newer things starting to emerge. So I started working at a big company at Cargill. I mean, that's on my profile. I can share who I worked with. I worked at Cargill, which in the US, it's a US based company, although it's global.
Mm.
At the time, it was one of the largest SAP implementations in the world. And so I joined as a complete, like, ignorant noob
No.
in the Cargill world. And I was, as they say, baptized by fire in that,
Mm.
right? So Accenture had a big presence there, and then some local like gray hair consultant people were who were very familiar and very knowledgeable. And I got to share a desk with one person in particular. I think he's retired now, and good for him. Um, who just like if you get to sit by Yoda, you will become a Jedi anyway, right? Just by
Yeah.
like watching
Yeah.
the master do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I got to sit by the master and watch the master do things. And then every now and again, like literally we shared a desk for a while anyway. And then like sometimes I would take the wheel, so to speak, on my laptop, and he could like watch me do things and he could be like, "Actually, my son, don't do that." Or you know,
Yeah.
like, have
Yeah.
that. And that was like that's
We
invaluable.
we
That's
don't do that here.
invaluable.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like having a master like watching over your shoulder and going, "No, no, my child, don't do that. Do this instead." You know, like you cannot replace that kind of thing. So my sort of parachute in was being extremely fortunate, even though there was a couple of months where the cargo couldn't figure out what to do with like a bunch of us who were new. We just sat at our desks and did like read Google to
Mm.
try to learn things. But once they kind of got going with it, it was many of us had a good chance to sort of break out to that. Um, and then after a few years of that, um, like I said, there were things on the horizon at that point. So you could just see like Fiori starting to take shape in
Mm.
like 2014,
Mm.
2013,
Yeah.
right? Um, so I was lucky enough to start working at Mindset, where Yelena and I both have strong roots. Um,
Mm.
uh, and get very deep into like UI5 and Fiori style things in that world. And then of course that's consulting. So in the consulting world, you break out of the like very deep knowledge of the business into very shallow knowledge of like 20 businesses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I got good exposure to many other things um, through that. And so I would say my ABAP skills definitely got deeper because of that, but then also because it was consulting and it's also just like do what your customer says.
Yeah.
And then I also kind of did some startups a little bit, kind of mixed in here and there. I picked up some like non-SAP and non-ABAP stuff along the way too.
Mm.
Um, so I would say for somebody who has about 15, 16 years of experience, I probably don't have quite the depth of somebody who was like
Yeah.
very like planted in SAP land in ABAP land. I've seen my share of things, but I don't quite have the depth of that, right?
Mm.
But when something new comes around, I have been able to sort of gather tools around myself and experiences around myself to like pretty quickly adapt to those new things
Mm.
relatively.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that's at least that's my story of how
Yeah.
things came around. So I'll stop hogging the
Yeah.
microphone, so to speak. Yeah.
So Bjorn, like through your experience that led to this moment, I'm sure you also observed some of the shifts, like Fiori introduction, etc.
Mm.
How did you kind of lived with that, through that, or kind of against that? And so I just want to tackle a little bit on that question. How do you think current time is maybe different from some of the changes that we have witnessed before?
Mm.
I think the changes in between before were more optional, I think,
Mm.
for the companies, because I've done long times ago always the same, I would say, building reports for the sub GUI. So in every company
Hmm.
that I'm visiting, I'm building reports. And there was still WebDyn Pro. I know WebDyn Pro also from my education when I started with ABAP in 2009, I think, about around nearly as Paul.
Very much same,
Mm.
yeah.
I saw a colleague was building WebDyn Pro applications. I looked in it, but I thought it's a little too complex for me because I was starting development. So for me, it was too
Yeah.
complex. It's also when I was in the company now, the colleagues have done Fiori freestyle applications. I also looked around and said, okay, I have no time to work to get a real touch to it, so to say. So I would say Fiori was nothing for me. So I built services for Fiori. Yes, I've done this. So the colleagues can work with it. I've done the back end so far. And I never saw the chance to move for Fiori, for example. So, but after the last years when they invented RAP development in the cloud, so it was for me the first time to build my first Fiori application, to get in touch with the business application studio, with the deployment process and so on. And I thought, oh, it's not so bad. It's not so hard to learn it, but only when you stick to Fiori elements. So when I have to go deeper into Fiori freestyle, I will be lost also now.
Yeah.
So this was the part for me to go and say, okay, there are some technologies that are not so hard to learn, and so when it's not so hard for me, I can teach them to others. And so that was the part where I see, okay, all the new technologies SAP is releasing are okay to learn, but it's a hard way for the most people to learn it. And so they will take time. So when most people say, yeah, I come to you, I learn in RAP development in 3 months, I say, sorry, but you need coordinator services. Do you use ADT? And then you have to maybe learn 1 year RAP development and all about it, so you can use it for your daily work. So it's a hard and long way, but most people think it's easy and a quick way for them.
Yeah, I think it's quick to learn, but it takes much longer to master it because the simplest scenarios they work just fine. There isn't much to it, if I'm completely honest. It's not super, like you said, it's not really super complicated subject to learn. However, if you start using this on practice, you very quickly realize that those hello world cases will only take you that far, and when it gets complicated, it's totally different ball game.
Yeah, that's totally true. And by the way, Bjorn, like when I have discovered my own boundaries of like, oh shit, I've never seen that before. Like Software Heroes is like my place to go to see
Yeah.
the thing that I haven't seen before, the corner that I didn't look at before, right? And it's still, even after kind of skipping across the water a few times here and there, like I feel like I can crank out Hello World pretty quick, but like as soon as somebody asks for something more, here comes Google to Software Heroes to find the thing that I need to do.
That's exactly. I have also a short story about if you want to see new things or want to go into rabbit hole. So we had some colleagues that are migrating actually from R3 to S4, their system, and they had a report and they said there is a finding, and I looked at the finding and said, what's the statement? I never saw the statement before. It was a provide statement. And have to check the documentation, what is provide doing, and so on. And so there are many things in ABAP I also don't know about it.
Yeah, there are. ABAP has like 600 plus keywords. And that's like most program languages do not have that many keywords. ABAP is a strange beast in that world for sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the story of every ABAPer's life. All right. So before we go slightly deeper into learning, I just want to shamelessly do a very little promo to the old videos that Paul and I did a while ago, but it is still kind of current because it talks about future-proofing your learning and upskilling, being efficient with it. And most importantly, I think especially for the mature developers, it talks about leaning onto your existing knowledge and building around it and on top of it. So just want to do a shameless shout out because
Shameless plug.
shameless plug for this video, but it's really good video. So we're very proud of it, and I just find myself returning to it and recommending this to people. So back to Bjorn's blog. So before we go, I think rep and cap, that's a big elephant that we're just gonna get into, but we mentioned Fiori, so I just want to very briefly address that subject. So speaking about Fiori, there are obviously Fiori elements, which is very different, I would say, from SAP UI5 freestyle development. Fiori elements, something that I think we can all agree definitely ABAP developers should at least learn about. That's
Yeah.
that seems to be
Yeah.
consensus. And it's also part of many ABAP prep courses because that's how you can quickly expose your backend to the front end, so to speak. But talking about, let's say, SAP UI5, so people are talking about should I learn SAP UI5? What's your kind of hot take on that?
At the moment, I would say you don't need it. So
Mm,
I have built now some applications also with extensions and so on. And also, um, I've never used a freestyle application before. So the
mm,
way for me to go, and I think also SAP is saying it, you start with Fiori elements. And when you want to extend it, you use the flexible programming model. The flexible programming
Yeah.
model is very good because you can extend different points in your application so to get the features you need at the end.
mm,
And I think this is the first part you can do, but also the part before this is you need users that give you some requirements that
yeah,
fit into Fiori elements. So I have
yeah,
also some discussions some weeks ago where we discussed about an application. So they have drawn a picture and said, okay, I need this application, this pop-up in this application, and so on. And I said, it looks a little bit like SAP GUI, what you have drawn there.
mm,
And but we can do it in elements, but it works differently, so to say. So the
yeah,
pop-up is not as big as he wanted. It's the standard pop-up, so to say. You can build in RAP. And
Yeah.
also when you navigate on the list, you can do it with to the next app. So you build two apps, and the list you want to see you get on the second app. So you navigate there with a filter and so on, and you get the view you want on the second app without bending the framework too hard for you,
mm,
so to say. And so that's always the part to get the right requirements at the first step, and then to use the Fiori Elements framework to build this requirement. And then
Yeah.
also you can
yeah,
extend it where you need it, but you haven't to build normally a freestyle application anymore.
yeah,
So let me just add one little tiny bit of seasoning to the stew here, which is so I think I have two or three books where I've either written about or mentioned SAP UI5 freestyle apps, including one of them was the SAP Press like SAP UI5 the complete guide. I was the author of the second version of that, second volume or whatever. Um, my advice to anybody watching this video is do not buy my books about that stuff. It doesn't like you don't need to know all that stuff anymore. You don't need to like I'm right there with Bjorn. Like start with elements and stay right in the pocket of elements and you will do 99.987%
yeah.
of what your business needs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know it's not the same at all, like technology wise, like ABAP query or SAP query was before the famous
Mm,
SQ01, but
mhm.
way back, we kind of started using it a lot because it's very quick and dirty, super easy way to crank out very simple PLV report. You just give it, if it's as simple as let me grab these few fields and just have like exposed with ALV report, that was super easy way to do that. And we ran into similar challenges sometimes when we did not know upfront always whether that functionality will be efficient or we will run into something where we will kind of outgrow whatever capabilities that provided. However, we kind of stopped focusing on trying to get this like 100% right because
Mhm.
when we started prototyping with SQ01 very easily because literally you can check boxes and show the users right away what it's going to look like. Even if we discovered that the whole like approach is not going to work in the end and we need something more like custom ABAP, at least we already had our data model and we already had our prototype. So
Yeah.
like large part of the work was already done using that
Mhm.
very simple
Mhm.
tool. So I would probably recommend a lot using them, Fiori elements just for that. All
Mhm.
right, awesome. So don't so no need to really deep dive into SAP UI5, but do lean
Don't buy my
into
books.
yeah.
Don't give me royalties.
Don't buy
It's a
full
mistake.
books. Yeah, forget about it. All right,
Don't do it.
so super huge subject, rep versus cap, and again,
Yeah.
shameless plug to my story. And let me see the date. So it was 2023. So a
Oof.
while ago. Um, there were some blog posts in SAP community that talked about this subject, and my kind of general conclusion from the story was basically that RAP, which is ABAP RESTful Application Development Programming Model, and CAP, what is that, Cloud Application Programming Model. So in themselves, by definition, they are already so different that kind of thinking one versus another kind of a so stupid question to ask in a way, because they just serve totally different purposes. And that was kind of the gist of my story. But Björn, you shared this blog post, which again is very thoughtful, very long for, in a good way. So can you give us kind of main points that you're trying to make in this post?
Yeah, it was about looking from the perspective of the business there, because the business normally says, I need stable applications, for example, I need a fast delivery and so on. And so to say, I took the example from ABAP code. ABAP code runs for, I think, 20 or 30 years in the system without touching it anymore. So it's very stable, so to say. And so this was the point for me also to say I need a stable requirement. I have also the part of security when I think about dependencies. So when you have dependency trees in CAP, then you have the problem when you have a security issue, you have to update all your CAP applications. So this is one part from me. And when you have built, I think, 100 CAP applications, you have to do many things to run them again. Also, the colleagues should test them. So you don't deploy untested code at the end. And when you have an ABAP system, you normally do the patch. So the CVA node, so to say, you implement it and transport it. Maybe you test it if it's a breaking change. But it's about stability, so to say. And this was also about learning both frameworks, because as I know from my company, we're building around 90+% in the core systems extensions. And so we need some developers that have to build them side by side. And so we choose RAP for this, because these 10% is enough, so to say. We use the same skills we have on-prem. We use them in the cloud, so to say, and we don't need the infrastructure for this. We don't need the people. So the people can't help each other because the one knows CAP, the others know RAP. They can't help each other because the skill and knowledge is totally different, I would say. And there's also a little bit a comparison in the article about the costs, because normally they say, yeah, CAP is much cheaper, because yes, when you start your first example, it's very cheap. But when you want to scale it up, more applications, more people that work with it, so it will also scale up the costs. Not linear, I would say exponential upscaling, because the people, for the people, you also need licenses for the work zone so they can run your app. And every more developer or every more consultant on an ABAP environment, for example, in the cloud is for free. So you only run the machine and all the users are on the machine free. So you have a high initial cost, but it will stay there. And then the CAP curve comes from the other side when you scale up this scenario at the end.
Yelena, do you want to scroll up to that little comparison that's in the article?
Yep.
Because I think this is pretty. Bjorn's the table you put out there is a very helpful explanation of the point you just made. Yeah. This right here.
Exactly.
Which has that like I guess you could say sort of the ballooning cloud version of things, which is like as soon as you think there's something really cool you want to do, you just added a subscription to your costs of doing that thing, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not, fine, whatever. But like that is a difference from the wrap, the on stack or wrap or whatever thing you want to say there, which is like the kitchen sink is already is in the kitchen already, with that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not fully comparable because applications and users are different, but there are also, you see the complexity of the services you need.
Yeah.
Also in the landscape, you see there are only 2.5 systems, I call it, because there are 2 HANA databases only instead of 3, because you have a 3-system landscape, but you only have 2 databases. So test and development shares one. So to say, you can go down a little bit with the costs, but then you have, for example, not a full system for your own. And on the other side, you have the RAP scenario, The Cloud Foundry is mandatory, but you only need the ABAP environment at the end.
Mhm.
And so you have also a three system landscape there, a fully three system landscape, so to say.
Yeah.
And I would say for a BTP administrator, it's much easier to work with it because you have only the one service you have to maintain. On the other side, you need a little bit more knowledge to maintain all the
Mhm.
services that they work together. I think I've forgotten also the pipelining. So there is no pipeline at the moment. So you also need a pipeline for deployment. Or it's the best practice for a pipeline for deployment is also not visible there. And as I wrote it down there, there's also some benefits for the on-prem systems or for private cloud, public cloud, or so on, because you also get the CVA checks there. The CVA checks normally on a license base for on-premises, it's very expensive because I don't know what's the politic behind there. It's very expensive, and in the cloud it's free. So that's also benefit for us because we get free security checks for our uh, on-premises systems at the end.
That's that's pretty powerful by itself. The free anything you say free, my ears go up a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing too, I think part of this equation here with this stuff is like I think especially in enterprise and especially in the like the dark SAP corner of the enterprise is like complexity is by itself like a little monster that needs to be slain, right? Complexity is a cost that can't be measured. And so, and I'm not actually making an argument for one or the other when I say complexity, but what I am saying is that when you undertake to make a decision of a direction or whatever, the complexity of your existing environment and the complexity you're going to add is like a cost. Maybe you can't put a number on it, but it's a cost, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like probably the main I would say that especially in the SAP consulting realm, uh, the ideal SAP consultants are the ones who are helping you to reduce the complexity cost of things that you're trying to accomplish when you do that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely appreciate Björn your sharing such thorough, well
Yeah.
informed and well researched article because I honestly have not seen really, I would say even intelligent content on this subject. There are very few posts about this. Mostly people just share total crap on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Just I don't know. So folks, if you're watching
Useless.
this, if you have been reading something on LinkedIn, it's there's a lot of stuff that is just either plain misinformation, inaccurate, etc., etc. So make sure you use factual information when you're making any decisions like that. But so staying with the main subject of our conversation today, transformation of the developers, I think many people are kind of looking at CAP and like, is that something I should kind of jump into? What would be your thoughts specifically on that? Would you like say try it or like don't bother? What's your take on CAP for experienced ABAP developers?
I normally would say if you have the time and knowledge, you can check it out, learn it maybe, but I always would say the time you have during your work time is not enough to learn both frameworks in depth, so
Mm,
to
Yeah,
say. So
yeah.
maybe you focus on one framework, learn it much more in the depth. Also, the best practices like unit testing and so on. So, but most people don't use unit tests, so to say. And maybe you go more in this, or you learn both frameworks a little bit, so to say, and can build some applications, but not good applications, I would say it, because then there are some key components are missing, like reusability or testability, for example. So I always would say stick to your framework of choice and learn it in depth,
yeah.
so to say.
So yeah, it's a
Mhm.
great advice. Paul, any thoughts on from you?
Yeah, I wish I could argue with Bjorn. Well, maybe I don't wish I could argue, but like I don't think I could argue because the depth is a uh as a person as a valuable human resource, depth is a value that you can't replace, I
Yeah.
don't think.
Yeah.
and it's good to have
Yeah,
depth.
I think Bjorn is unarguable with. So I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
and it's actually a great point because you cannot really sit on two horses here at the same time, so to speak, just because they're very different programming models. It seems like,
Mhm.
oh, they're all by just one letter. I mean, how difficult could it be? But in reality, that is totally misleading, and in reality, they're very different. And yeah, definitely, if you're making this choice, beware that is that will be your probably point of maybe not exactly no return, but this is a very huge like fork in the road. It's much bigger fork than going into SAP UI5, I would say, even
Mhm.
because like if you go cap, you're not going back to ABAP probably, because otherwise we will just suck in it two frameworks at the same
Mm,
time. So yeah, it's a really great point. So if you decide, and I think general knowledge, yeah, definitely just go learn like what it is. There was used to be really good course on OpenSCP. Unfortunately, OpenSAP
Mhm.
is gone now, but there is most likely a very short course about CAP, just what it is, how it works. Learn that, but going into depth, that's where you will not be able to do like to do everything at the same time. So really great points there.
yeah,
Awesome. All right.
I, I mean, at
Yeah,
the end,
please.
you have only the possibility to build applications in the cloud because due to the license changes from SAP, you can't use it offline, so to say, CAP at the moment.
Mm,
And so you need the BTP. So when you're a CAP developer, you can build, I think, wonderful cloud applications, but you will never have an application on an on-prem system at the
mm,
end, so to say. So you choose the
yeah,
path to build only side by side, and not every use cases can be built side by side. So as I said, normally the most companies have a big range of applications they build on premises at the end, and so this will be the choice for you, so to say. When you see in the company, I'm better working on the system, so to say, and I learn one of the frameworks, and maybe I can reuse it in the cloud, so it will be the choice for me. But when I choose then CAP, so I can only build in the cloud application. So there has to be a need in the company. So you have to the
yeah,
need for to build the applications there.
yeah,
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 yeah. It's a great point, and many people just kind of looking for the future job opportunities, like what is the next job that's going to be popular. I'm not sure we can predict that from looking at the current job market, because cap is more like developing job market probably out there.
Mhm.
However, it's very important to just, if that's something you're considering, just think logically. I mean, how much demand could there be for such applications from SAP customers? I
Mhm.
would probably say, even though there are many ABAP developers already on the market, there is still equally large demand in business for SAP-centric applications. So REP definitely
Mhm.
is going to remain, at least for some time, kind of more central and needing more resources for that. Cap is definitely something to keep an eye on, but
Mhm.
whether there will be significant demand in terms of purely people and jobs, honestly, I wouldn't be able to even guess that. So yeah, demand and supply is very important. um all right, so just switching to the next second big elephant in the room, obviously, is ABAP and AI. And coincidentally, another shameless plug, Paul has just written about this in our latest issue of our Boring Enterprise Nerd letter. And as you see from this headline, it's very controversial because Paul is actually suggesting to look outside of SAP. And I know, Bjorn, you also shared some of your experiments with SAP Joule, which is SAP product. So Bjorn, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with Joule, and what's your
yeah.
what would be your recommendation for ABAP developers?
Oh, that's a tough one because now it's public, so I have to
Yeah.
worry about what I'm saying. No, So first I've started testing Joule in the beta phase. So we have the honor to test it when they wanted to release it at the first beginning. So we had some use cases. We tested a little bit around with unit testing, explanations, things. There were many good parts that worked. Still work, but there were also some parts where the AI generated some code I never saw before. And I thought, okay, it looks a little bit like HANA code, but we are on the ABAP the public cloud code, but we are on the ABAP environment, so this code doesn't exist here. So you saw that the model took everything he learned, yes, but he never checked on which release I am. Can I do this? Can I use these objects and so on? So that was this was beta problem, but so to say. And actually, we also tried to get more our hands on it because the enabling for the free service takes also some time. I think we are now talking about 1 year in the company. But it's not a problem of SAP. It's also our problem in the company because to get some of the AI terms accepted and so on, it will take a lot of time at the end. So I think we're finished after 1 year, and then now the contract is on SAP side. So it's still to get our hands on Joule is very difficult. So I wish it would be a little bit easier to get to know how to use Joule. I've also used it on some. For example, on the DSAG Tech Exchange last year, I think, was a hands-on session and so on. So I also get my hands on it and used it a little bit. The generation for unit tests was okay, what I would say. But at the moment, I think there are some important points missing for Joule for me. For example, that I can say, this is my guideline, or here is clean ABAP, use it, please, when you generate some code, so to say. This is missing for me, also the agentic mode. So to say, I always get some recommendations. This is the code, but can you include it in my actual code, please? So to say. So this is a little bit missing for me. And so when I'm looking, for example, at the demo for VS Code, so the VS Code development, they are actually try out. I see a lot of good features where they implement. But also I saw that in some of the demos, they don't use Joule for this. So they use the Opus model, for example. And I also read a lot about the Opus model. It's much better for development and so on. So to say, maybe we can choose in the future which model we want to use in our ABAP IDE at the end. So this will be the best part, I think, because the market is moving so fast. They will release the next model, and the next model can do double so good things than the model before, so to say. And so that's for me. I would wish when SAP will a little bit be more open, so I can choose which model I use and so on. And also, I saw many good things from the community, so to say. When I look at the MCP servers from Marianne, for example, or from Alice, what she developed, so to say. And these are actually community-driven projects that accelerate I would say, a little bit faster than the SAP is doing at the moment.
A lot faster even.
so no hate against. It's because it's the free time, and you don't have to apply any rules. You can do what you want in your free time in open source projects. You will be much faster than a company that have to take rules and so on. They have to consider and so on. So that's not the point. So I will watch the next months on it, what it's doing. But we also see in the German-speaking community, everyone is asking about when is Joule coming for my on-prem system or for my ECC system. And SAP is saying, sorry, not for you.
Not gonna happen.
So
how about never is their answer?
They're not gonna say that, but guys, I think that's a real answer.
I think it's probably never.
It's very likely never coming to ECC system.
And this is also the hard part, because then we also talked with the community then, and they said, so we use other models for development. We use not Joule, we use a Copilot or what we have in our company to develop the stuff. And I mean that this is a good point where SAP lost some really good beta testers, so to say, for this infrastructure. But I think we have to check the next month what is the new. Maybe there's a strategy shift, maybe not. We don't know it. I've also read some articles the last days where also the newspapers wrote about maybe Joule is not the right thing to go, so to say, and many customers are not applying it or building their project with other products.
Yeah.
So maybe there have to be a little bit more pushy, so to say, to have to push a little bit more the product to get it in the market, so to say, or make it available to more customers, so more customers can use it, can give feedback to SAP, so
Yeah.
SAP can learn and grow from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My
hot take on Joule has been like it's too little, too late. But I know, Paul, you have generally kind of more controversial take on the role of AI taking our jobs, and I think AI in development space in general. What's your kind of
Yeah,
thoughts for
and
aspiring ABAP developers?
so so I don't want to stand up on a soapbox too much, so I'll just describe it like this because I think I did 15 minutes on this in one of our like
Yeah,
nerd letter things, so I won't do that. But but my take is this. In a job or in a role that you have, there are tasks and there is your purpose. Your purpose is to make, as a software developer, as an engineer, your purpose is to make the computers go for the business's goals in the world. Sell more products, reduce their costs, whatever the case may be. Your tasks are like fungible or changeable toward those purposes, right? So in other words, like like if you had to like turn a crank by hand to like make the computer go to do those things, you would do that. But you don't have to do that. That's a task that you don't have to do. It is very clear to me that the task of like typing code, that task is going away.
Yeah.
The purpose of making the computers go for the business to make money or reduce costs or make sales or whatever, that purpose will remain the same. But the tasks that you undertake to achieve that purpose, at least the human doing those tasks, that is like rapidly shifting in what is possible with the AI models and what businesses are going to start asking for. But the purpose, I don't see the purpose changing yet. But the tasks, learn to do your tasks in new ways because the tasks are changing,
Yeah.
is my hot take.
Yeah. And so just to summarize it in terms of developers have limited time on their hands to learn something. Obviously, we'll have, lives 24 hours in a day,
Yeah.
and we need to spend that wisely. So in terms of spending time on something, let's say AI related, what would be the best return on investment for mature SAP ABAP developers right now? What would you guys recommend? Bjorn, I guess I take it that like Jewel maybe like watch for the news, but maybe don't really like deep dive into it. At least not just yet. What else would you guys recommend?
Touch, get your hands on the community things that people put out there.
Mm,
Bjorn mentioned Marion and Alice
yeah,
and other folks. My colleague Marcello also has a really
yeah,
cool
yeah.
ABAP plugin for these things too. Um, like if you want to see how those tasks are changing,
Mm,
get your hands on those tools and just try them out. That's that's how tasks are changing
yeah,
in this world is my short plug for
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Bjorn,
At the
any
moment,
other? Yeah.
I'm struggling a little bit with using AI because normally when I write articles, it's about new things, so I don't need AI
Mm,
in this case. And I looking around what's happening there. For example, OpenClaw. I like the concept of OpenClaw, for example,
Hmm.
how you can automate your full PC. But I also saw at the end of the experiment the costs from one day, and I
Yeah.
saw, oh, it's so expensive for one day, and so these
Hmm.
are things I look around and say, okay, it's now going in this direction, it's going in this direction. I like this one. I would try it out, so to say.
mm,
But I think in my daily life, it's actually not so useful. so to say, because the most ABAP LLMs not using, or when you want to use it in work, you have to do a little bit more, because then we have to talk with the data protection guys, with the
Mhm.
with the guys that buy the model and so on. It's a little bit
Yeah,
hard to get it in the company.
it
And
is. It is.
Yeah.
I think for private use, it's okay. So I can test it out on my PC what I want. But on my daily base as ABAP developer, I had a little bit to think about what I want to get at the end, so to say, and how many time I
Mm.
want to invest in AI at the moment, or do I more think about how to use AI in my use cases I build, so to say. So the people have some requirements and they want to have some AI in their process, and we do, okay, it's okay, we can build it there, then it's okay, I think, when we build
Mm.
it in the use
Hmm.
cases. But for my daily use at the moment, it's not so good, or not so, you don't use it so often.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So we have just a few minutes left from our planned time. We'll go into a closing argument session, but I wanted to ask this slightly controversial question of Bjorn. So if you were to write similar blog post about transformation of ABAP developers in 5 years from now, what do you think you would put there?
I would say I will write the same things as I'm doing now, because only the half of the people have shifted there, and the other half still there where we are now. So I think
Yeah.
in 5 years we can write the same articles at the moment, so to say. There will be some more things for the future, so to say, maybe more cloud
Hmm.
products from SAP or something
Mm.
we can write about it, or they have make Fiori much easier, also to say, or the
Mm.
VS Code is much better now. So I would say, but I think about the learning topics, we can nearly write about the same things then.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I see still many people just kind of coming out like, bear emerges from winter hibernation in spring, very kind of hungry and, disoriented. I see similarly people like
Mm.
that, like coming out of ECC world.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, what happened? Like, 10 years I was asleep and like, there's so much stuff. I'm so confused. I'm like, bro, like like where were you all this time? That stuff was happening. It's like it's not like it came
Hmm.
out of nowhere. There were years of leading up to this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very very interesting
Hmm.
subject. All right, so to wrap this up, just a kind of usual send off, the action we want viewers to take, or the last advice to give. What would like this be for you? Like sending off to the world. Let's start with you, Paul. What are your kind of famous last words?
Um, so I'll take my famous last words from the shameless plug we did for the skill up thing,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
skill apocalypse,
Yep.
which is um if you find yourself stuck with like what do I learn next? What do I learn next? The best thing you can learn next is whatever you decide to learn next. In
Yeah.
other words, don't stay stuck. There's no wrong decision
Yeah.
in what to learn next. The point is to be learning whatever is next for you.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about rap or cap or whatever, like there may be some details there, but like it's better to make a choice and then decide to make a different choice in a week or a month than to be paralyzed and not make a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
That's my
true. Yeah.
wisdom.
Yeah, and especially these days when there's so much free content, so you don't need to invest in courses or anything
Yeah.
right away,
Yeah.
at least. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, Bjorn, what's your words of wisdom?
Normally I would say stay hungry, because then you learn more when you learn every day, so to say. It's for me the best one, but I saw one of my favorite ones is now on the cup or wrap article. There is
Yeah.
one on below. It's before cup or wrap become crap, or cap or wrap become crap. You should think about your strategy. So that is for me the right thing. Think about your strategy for cut or wrap in your company. What do you want to use there? And
Yeah.
I think when you use both, it's good for SAP. When you want to only use one, it choose the right one for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good
And
to say that.
yeah.
I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
and honestly, I think choose the right one for you is that kind of advice that applies to everyone's individual learning and upskilling, because some people like lean one way or another. So working it with your strength I think, and just what interests you, you will be just more motivated and will be more efficient learning if it's something you're interested in and good at. So just general advice, I think. Awesome. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Paul and Bjorn, especially
Thank you, Bjorn.
for joining us today and for your wisdom. And as usual, guys, just like and subscribe. If you have any questions, post comments here, or comment on Bjorn's blog. We will have links right in the description. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.